Hey guys, what's going on? Steven back again, and I'm back with another Walking Dead video from the Thrifty Typewriter. And the topic for today's video is The Walking Dead still worth watching after all these years? So, if we're going by The Walking Dead, the main show, yes, absolutely it is. You know, it is still one of the best shows out there. Now that you can, basically binge watch the entire show, definitely helps quite a bit, instead of back when we were watching it and stuff like that and had to wait week by week by week by week, especially during some of those less desirable seasons with all those bottle/filler episodes, and you'd have to wait like 3 weeks, 4 weeks just to see your main favorite character once again. Yeah, that was no fun. But now that you can do that in a couple of hours, definitely makes a difference. Makes a big difference, now that you can binge watch it. So that definitely helps. But either way, it is still a great show. If you are binge watching it, you gotta be careful about getting burned out. Because yes, it is 11 seasons. Most of the seasons are 16 episodes per season. Obviously, the season 11 was like 24 episodes, and like the first three were only like 6, 10, and 12, only a couple of episodes long. But the majority of the show is 16 episodes long, so that is a lot of episodes of The Walking Dead. And especially binge watching it, you can get burned out from doing it. But either way, it is still a great show to watch. The franchise overall, it is still worth watching the franchise overall. Yes, there is a lot of spin-offs, which does kind of sucks, because especially if you're on like a Walking Dead kick, it's like, damn, I gotta watch like all these different spin-offs and stuff like that, because they kind of all connect. If you're following Rick, well, it's recommended to watch like World Beyond, which is 2 seasons long. I think it's like 10 episodes each season, or 12. I think 10, I don't remember, but either way, it's only 2 seasons long, 24 episodes in total. So there's like another 20-ish episodes, and then you get The Ones Who Live. So you got that. If you like Morgan, if you're a fan of Morgan, which I like Morgan. Morgan's a great character. Now it's kind of like, all right, well, now I gotta watch Fear the Walking Dead. Yes, he doesn't show up until later on, but still gotta watch Fear the Walking Dead to see what happens with Morgan's story and stuff like that, because who knows, maybe somewhere down the line they'll have a giant reunion show. Rick's back, here's Morgan and stuff like that, and if we see Morgan and you didn't follow his story, and here he is with a kid, and it's like, wait, he's got another kid? What happened? How did that happen? How does Morgan have another kid? So now you gotta watch that show. It's just a lot of Walking Dead. So, if you're just getting started in it, just be prepared. But as for the main show, absolutely. All right, so, let's just jump right in and check out the video. Here we go.
We all know that The Walking Dead is past its prime. I mean, like, way a decade plus past its prime.
This season was
but
10
so
years
many people
ago.
have already pointed out,
Jesus.
The franchise itself has become the very thing it's all about. A walking, but basically dead shell of what it once was. But that doesn't stop the money from coming in.
There it is.
It doesn't stop
the
more
money.
seasons of these shows from coming out, and it doesn't stop the remaining fans from continuing to watch these shows. There's still enjoyment in these shows, and these characters, and these stories, and for as long as that continues on, The Walking Dead will continue dragging along.
Of course, as long as there's money to be made, and it's making money, it's not going to stop.
The Walking Dead show, give my thoughts and insights on all these projects. Not so much a review of these shows, but kind of how they've lived on since their release, and then talk about what the future holds, because whether people like it or not, it seems like this zombie is going to continue to mutate and change into all sorts of different stories, mirroring the zombies themselves in the current time of the universe. So let's take down the CRM in a single episode.
Yeah, that was
short
kind of
up
crazy.
France, and somehow the most
Taking out
plausible
all
fashion,
CRM in just
and take
one
over New
episode
York
after
City
building
as
up
we talk about
this
the
giant
strange state of the Walking Dead
enemy
universe in
for all these
2025.
years.
So the first of these spin-offs, the so-called next chapter of the Walking Dead universe, was Dead City, formerly known as Isle of the Dead, which is a way better title, by the way. But this was definitely the first
Isle of the
spin-off
Dead. It's
for a reason.
Kind of works.
Reason number one being, this was the show that everybody was pretty meh about. Maggie and Negan certainly have their fans, but this spin-off was almost here to test the waters a little bit, to see how much of an audience they could retain from the old show, and to see if anybody new from binging the series would tag along. And this show did pretty well. It was the most watched show on AMC Plus, which isn't that big of a deal if I'm being honest. It probably did better than a lot of people, AMC included, thought that it
I mean,
would
it is
do.
cool seeing,
And in
like,
that sense,
being in
the
a
show
city
feels
once
a
again,
bit
like an
odd.
actual
Like,
city.
it wasn't that high of a priority. This was the first spin-off to release, yet we've gotten 2 seasons of Daryl Dixon since this season ended. We're finally getting a second season coming out soon, and while I think the promise of seeing old Negan is carrying a lot of weight behind the show, I'm also not entirely sure where this is going, and that's a trend with all of these shows. Maggie, no matter what the show tries to do with her, will always be tethered to Glenn's death.
Well,
and
of
by
course.
extension, Negan himself.
Right,
so pairing them
'cause he's the one
together
that killed
made
him.
for some great moments in The Walking Dead, ultimately leading to a conversation where the two see eye to eye. They're not friends, but not necessarily enemies anymore either. So a show
Frenemies.
centered on these two characters would surely not retread that exact same story, right? Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Apparently it's been a few years and they've forgotten all about their character development, so we're kind of just seeing their season
Oops.
11 story again. And I think the reason why that is because there's not really a whole lot to do with these characters. Sure, they can give Negan excuses to return to his old Negan ways, because no matter how seasons 7 and 8 were received, everybody really loved Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan. But
Yeah,
what can they
he was
do
good.
with Maggie? Well, option number 1, when it comes to female characters in The Walking Dead, is to give them a new love interest, but that might not blow over so well with the fans of the show, because it would be seen
Nah.
as disrespecting Glenn.
Yeah.
So I guess she's just gonna go back to hating Negan, because there's really nothing else for her to do, or at least nothing that the writers can
Even though they
seemingly
kind of
come up
reconciled
for
in
her to
season
do.
11.
With all that being said, I actually think Dead City did the best that they possibly could have done, given all the corners that they were backed into. Tell the same sort of love-hate relationship between Negan and Maggie in a show that the network itself wasn't too confident in, with more or less B-tier characters from the main show. And for all things considered, the story of Dead City is solid. Herschel getting captured, so Maggie has to turn to Negan for help, but in reality is just there to double-cross him, and instead of him getting killed or tortured, he's promoted to King of the City. A little strange, I guess, but the world was also
It is what it is.
more, introducing the Marshals of New Babylon, this new energy source that the Marshals seem to really want, and it overall went into some unique places. It was
Yeah,
a pretty
it did.
promising start for these spin-offs. Not exactly great, but it was a serviceable show for this next phase of the universe. So with this upcoming second season,
And I
it
just
looks
really
like
like seeing
for
the city and
whatever
stuff like
reason,
that.
Maggie
You
is
know, no
traveling
more
back
woods,
into
no
the
more
city
forests, no more
with her
jungles.
son to meet
You know,
Negan again.
just an
Marshals
actual
are wrapped up in
full-on
everything.
city,
There's a zombie
you know?
mayor. I don't really know what to make of any of this, but I can tell you one thing right now. If Maggie and Negan do end up together romantically, I will flat out never make another Walking Dead video ever again.
I can't believe people are actually trying to ship that.
When
Like,
it was
really?
revealed that there would be a Daryl Dixon TV show and it would take place in France, a lot of people rolled their eyes. Out of all the ridiculous things that have happened in this universe, this might have taken the top spot for some people. It felt like the writers took Daryl, took a dart and a map, threw it, and said, okay, Daryl is going to France. The love that people have for Daryl Dixon only stretches so far, so whatever this story was, it needed to be believable.
Right.
And it turns out, it was. Out of all these shows, Daryl Dixon is the
Yeah,
one that
I mean, it
feels
was
the most
believable about
consistent.
how he got there. I mean,
All
it
the
wasn't
ratings
anything
are
too
right around that high 7
too
range.
crazy.
That might sound a bit unfair considering this is the only show to have a second season, but the episodes for Dead City were all a bit of a mixed bag, and the ones who live, well, I'll get there in a minute. As opposed to Dead City and
The Ones Who
setting
Live
of
was pretty
New
well
York
received,
City,
I'm pretty sure.
I feel like Daryl Dixon really uses the setting of France to its advantage. We see not only a lot of things that would be out of
It
place
is really
in
cool seeing
America,
France, though.
but how France has dealt with this apocalypse and how the world hasn't healed per se.
You know, I like
but
seeing
things
more
seem
of
much
the
better
actual
here
world.
As opposed to America.
You know, not just
Society has either
the back roads
maintained a bit
of
normalcy
Georgia
or
and
has
stuff like
gone
that.
back
Like,
to
I
how
want to see,
things
like,
used to be.
the
show
world.
feels incredibly different with the music, the cinematography, the medieval
Plus, it's
looking
interesting,
logo,
you know,
and
how
there's
else
a
is
lot of
everybody else
times,
in the,
particularly
you know,
in
the
first
world
season,
handling this?
where I
You know, what are
completely
they
forgot
doing?
this show
You
was
know?
about Daryl Dixon because it kind of just feels like an entirely different zombie show set in France. And in a lot of ways, I really liked that. The show isn't particularly capitalizing on the old show, at least not in the first season, and it seems more focused on showing us a different part of the world with a new story. However, that storyline does come with some issues. We're told that this kid is the chosen one of this universe, and how he could possibly be the cure or some messiah in this world. And that's where it kinda lost me. Not because I think that's a bad idea. It was actually nice to see some sort of overarching goal for this show and this universe in general than just surviving.
True, I guess there is an
It's just the
objective
fact
for the
that This has
show.
been done time and time again. Grown man connecting with young child is super popular right now. There's whatever Pedro Pascal is in, The Mandalorian, The Last of Us, going back to Children of Men.
Oh,
and
yeah.
now,
Logan.
Daryl Dixon. It's not only that this has been done before, it's that it's been done in this universe already. Daryl and Judith already have this grown man connects with young child trope.
Oh,
so
yeah,
in
it's
this
true.
show, they kind of just did it again with a sprinkle
Well,
of The
Daryl
Last
did
of
kind
Us
of
in there. But if you look
adopt
past
Judith
that,
after, you
the show
know,
actually has some pretty
Rick
great characters.
went away
some
and
unique
Michonne left too.
storylines, maybe
You
some
know, so
answers to the whole
Uncle
variant
Daryl
plotline that came out of nowhere
kinda
in
stepped
season
up.
11. And then in the second season, you had Carol return too, which was actually what the show was originally supposed to be when it was announced. And just a season in, that's exactly what it turned into. And in the age of television, where new seasons of shows come out every 2 to 3 years, Daryl Dixon is refreshing, considering we've gotten a new season each year since it's been out, and season 3 should also be out later this year. So that's one thing I gotta give Daryl Dixon credit for. Good for this show.
Well, to be fair,
So
there was a
now
writer's
let's
strike.
talk about what was the most highly anticipated thing in this universe
Yeah.
since probably the season premiere of season 7.
Yep.
And that's
The Ones Who
The
Live.
Ones Who
Yeah.
Live. This was by far the most hyped up spin-off of the 3.
Oh, yeah.
It got
Absolutely.
a lot of people to start watching or
Yep.
rewatching the show in preparation. A lot of my friends and family. Even Snooki was hyped for this show. After watching the first episode,
Well, everybody wants to know
it
what
made
happened
me
to
feel
Rick.
like it was 2015
You know,
all over
what
again.
happened to
I
Rick?
didn't
You know,
think that they
where's
were
he
gonna be
been
able
all
to
these
explain
years? You
Rick's
know,
absence
everybody
in all
wanted to
6
know.
episodes, let alone 1, and yet this episode managed to do that in a believable way. This episode made me realize why I love The Walking Dead so much, or at least why I had so much love for it in those early to mid seasons of the show, and this episode just brought all those feelings flooding back. It was such a massive success for this universe, for this franchise, for the fan base, and I was seated as soon as the episodes came out on AMC Plus at 3 a.m., which is something I hadn't done for any of these other shows, or really any other show, in a really long time.
Yeah,
But
this was the
before I
most
move on
anticipated
and discuss
one.
The other episodes, let's talk a bit about this whole Rick Grimes chapter. After his departure in season 9 of the show, and we saw that Rick didn't actually die, he was just chartered off on a helicopter to go to some strange organization, it was revealed that there would be a trilogy of theatrically released Rick Grimes films to explain where he went and what's going to happen to him.
Yep.
This sounded, even at the time, like a bit of a stretch. If you look at the history of films released in theaters after a TV show that introduced everything, there really isn't a whole lot there. There's Mask of the Phantasm, but you didn't really have to watch the animated series to watch that movie. There's quite a bit of SNL movies, but again, you don't need to watch those sketches first. Scooby-Doo, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Muppets. I think you see the trend here.
The X-Files did a good job, I think.
You to watch the original show first, but if these Rick Grimes movies were in theaters, the TV show, or at least being generally aware of the characters and events of the TV show, would most definitely be required. So releasing a movie in theaters always felt like a bit of a stretch, but releasing a movie on streaming definitely felt like a possibility. And this is something that has happened many times. There's El Camino, the Breaking Bad epilogue movie about Jesse. Seven Kings Must Die.
Yes.
A movie taking place after the series The Last Kingdom.
Yeah.
They're finally doing that Community movie after all these years. And that's right, it's going right to streaming. So after
The Last Kingdom, that was a great show.
Sort of updates at Comic-Con in 2022, Rick and Michonne themselves came out and said that instead of a movie trilogy, they were going to be doing a TV show called The Ones Who Live, a 6-episode limited series covering the stories of Rick and Michonne. So I think a lot of the ideas for this movie trilogy, or at least the first installment of the trilogy, were put into these first 2 episodes of The Ones Who Live, giving us both Rick and Michonne's backstory.
I mean, each 2 episodes could have been its own movie, basically.
Storylines, culminating in their meeting and then ending off there, but either couldn't plan out the next 2 movies or were just stuck, so they decided to turn it into a TV show. And that's where things got messy. What we ended up getting with The Ones Who Live was one of the best episodes in all of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
A really, really great episode.
Yep.
2 pretty good episodes.
Yeah.
And 2 episodes that rushed the ending of this storyline and overall fell a bit flat. While the conclusion of the show was satisfying,
the CRM and stuff like that,
didn't feel
the leadership just kind
of... In a lot of
of...
ways, this reminds me of Season 8 of Game of Thrones. Jon Snow returning north of the Wall to be the new king beyond the Wall is a pretty great and bittersweet ending for his character. But how we got there wasn't all that great. Rick and Michonne reuniting with their kids and living happily ever after is what we all wanted. But getting here didn't feel earned. The last episode in particular is crazy. Taking down the big bad CRM and
in one episode
that was set up for half a decade,
including
years of Rick clues and details, an entire other spin-off dedicated to setting up the CRM.
Even going into Fear the Walking Dead 2, there were traces of that.
Because love doesn't die. It's cheesy, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and worst of all, it's unsatisfying. I really kind of just sat there at the end of the final episode and was like,
that's it?
Destroying the CRM was the second to final nail in the coffin for me. I haven't been as involved.
I don't know, just expected way more out of CRM.
Love has really died,
you know,
ironically,
more
considering the message of the show.
From this briefing, they were hyping up that briefing so much.
Much bigger threat. I thought the show would be the Avengers Infinity War ending, and all of the shows would come together to face off against the CRM. The Commonwealth versus the CRM. The fate of humanity. And while there's been a lot of speculation about either a season...
Negan, Madison, Carol, Daryl, Maggie, Rick, Michonne, just all coming together and yes, you know, but no. And then of course they were hyping up this briefing. It's like, oh man, what are we gonna learn? You know, expected like so much more, you know, out of that briefing. It's like, oh, Rick's gonna get that briefing. That briefing is coming up. The briefing. You know, it's like, oh man, we're gonna get some like intense like stuff or something. You know, I don't even remember what some of the theories were. Like, I don't know. There was a cure or just, I don't know, but expected like so much more out of it. Granted, yes, the show was fantastic, but it was just like, damn, it just kind of expected more, and then seeing just all of CRM just going away that one episode, just, you know, it was kind of like, I mean, it's still good. It's still a good show.
Or another spin-off to bring all the characters together. Once upon a time, I was all for that, but now I'm kind of like, why? What would bring all these characters together for a full
Now there is
season of
nothing.
television? What threat is there going to be?
I mean, this could have been an
Variant
interesting.
zombies from France? I guess that might work. Is it
Well,
gonna
not
be
anymore.
Negan in New York City? Yeah, because the war against Negan last time turned out super well. It's not going to be the CRM, so what could bring all these characters together? Sure, seeing the whole cast together again would be great, but it's not like you can write an entire season based on people having different reunions. There
Right.
needs to be drama.
Of
there
course.
needs to be conflict.
I mean, what do you gotta do? Make a
This
show of
series
Rick
has
being
been
back
going
and,
on
oh,
for
Rick,
a
it's so
long
great to see
time.
you. Oh,
There's
Rick,
not
friend,
really
you're
any
back,
new
you know?
ground to cover. There's
Okay.
no storylines or places from the comics left to cover. It's all done. So what could be so huge as to get the band back together, and what could convince Andrew Lincoln and Denai Guerrera to return again when their chapters have more or less been closed? I'm not even building up to any sort of
They're
idea
back,
here.
they're
I
reunited with their
genuinely
kids,
don't
they're
know.
home.
I don't think there's anything they could do besides maybe go back to the basics and have everybody try to build a new life from everybody being together. A sort of Toy Story 4 type of story.
But they already
if
got
that
a
makes
life
any
in
sense to
Commonwealth.
anybody. One where there's not really a villain or antagonist. It just ends the story, again, for good. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I've also been hearing rumors about an Aaron spinoff, which... why? But maybe that could bring in all the Alexandria characters. It seems like a lot of these
Commonwealth.
actors are willing to return, like Father Gabriel and The Ones Who Live. But again,
Okay.
what could this show be about?
Yeah.
Is Aaron gonna go to Russia? An animated and comic accurate reboot has also been talked about. I'm not sure if that was just a fan idea or if there's some actual weight behind it. But yeah, that could work and might be the best option. Also funny that it would be the reverse of all these.
Yeah, what would
live-action
Aaron's reason
remakes.
be? Like,
Do an
why would you
animated
leave the
remake,
Commonwealth?
Which is personally what I think they should.
Where
do
would you
with
go?
Harry Potter,
Why?
but I think that boat has sailed. But before any
You're
sort
in the
of
Commonwealth,
reboot,
it's fully built
there
up.
is
They got
one
supplies,
thing
they got
left in this
protection.
universe that people want to see. AMC
Why would you
has
leave?
one card left to play, and they know it. I'm sure you all know it as well. And that's Daryl and Rick reuniting. It's been teased for a long
And Morgan.
time. Daryl finding out
You
he's
need
alive
Morgan.
in the main show, Carol saying that somebody returned, Rick asking about him in The Ones Who Live, but that has yet to happen. This is the one and final thing that the majority of fans want to see. Sure, seeing Rick reunite with a lot of other people would be cool, but
Oh, of
Daryl
course.
is the main thing we want to see. Rick and Daryl have been the two primary engines of this franchise for a long time now.
Right.
And I think as soon as AMC finally makes that decision, gives Andrew Lincoln a cameo in the series finale of Daryl Dixon, then the franchise itself, even its most hardcore fans, will be out. So this card is going to be saved for, I think, a really long time. I do
Oh,
think
yeah.
it'll happen, but just not anytime soon. Because as soon as it does happen, the lone walker
What
that
more is
has
there
become
left to
the
do?
Walking Dead universe will finally be passed by. This universe, more so than ever before, is directionless. They had some really great opportunities to bring everything together, but either they didn't write it that way or they couldn't get everybody back on board for another season. I'm not sure the circumstances, what it actually
That's probably what
is,
happens when
what
you wait too
actually happened.
long,
But
you
this
know?
franchise has been going
No,
on
sorry,
for
I'm off
15
doing another
years
movie,
now.
another
As
show.
big of a fan
Sorry,
that I am,
I'm not
as
available.
many great memories that I have of this series, there's been enough. It needs to rest. Play that final card, give us the reunions, and close this thing once and for all. Let these people rest, both the characters and the actors. And then cast them all as the animated voices for the reboot. Let's go!
Okay, so there we go. There is The Walking Dead still worth watching after all these years? So yeah, some of the spin-offs were just kind of thinking about it now, and then Dead City being like, well, now we're at each other's throats, when, season 11, they had that really good one-on-one moment where it was like, all right, kind of like buried the hatchet, like, I forgive you, but like I'm never gonna it was like one of those, like, I forgive you, like what Tyrese did with Carol, like, type of thing. Like, I forgive you, but I'm never gonna forget what you ever did, and stuff like that. And you see just Negan just holding back, like, his sadness, and then they him and Maggie like go off to take out I can't think of her name from Commonwealth together, and then we jump to Dead City, and she's like sticking a knife to his throat. It's like, wait, what? You guys kind of like bury the hatchet, and you're gonna go take out Pamela. Yeah, there we go, Pamela, together, and now it's back to killing you. So like, what went wrong? what happened there? Yeah, Dead City still, not Dead City, the Daryl Dixon, still an interesting show. Yes, seeing other places in the world is nice, which is what also makes Dead City really good, because like I said many times in the video, seeing the actual cities and stuff like that is really cool. That's kind of what makes like the first season of like The Last of Us just so good, because you're in like the city and stuff like that. You're not just in like the backwoods of wherever, and it's just like, oh, trees and more trees and woods. You're seeing like skyscrapers and buildings and all this stuff, and it's just something cool. And then Daryl, you're just seeing other countries, because it's interesting to see, all right, well, what's happening in other countries? Are they doing better than we are, or are they doing worse? Like, what's happening in other parts of the world? It's interesting. That's what's kind of going to be interesting about Daryl. Like, all right, well, what's the British doing? How are they handling things? They're on an island. Could they have a better grasp on things? Try to block off, the island or something like that, seclude themselves, who knows, they could be doing better, no ships in or out, and no flights in or out, who knows, I'll have to wait and see, but yeah, The Ones Who Live, still a great show, but yeah, that, that briefing just kind of sucked. I remember there was so many theories back when we were getting closer and closer to Rick getting that briefing and stuff like that. It's like, oh, is it going to be about this? It's going to be about that. It's going to be about Farron Walkers. They're creating them. Maybe they have a cure or whatever. They're just trying to take over, or, so many unanswered questions are going to be answered. And nope, nothing really like that at all. And then they took out all of the leadership in one episode, so there's really nothing left, and then there goes the chance of any type of CRM versus Commonwealth battling and stuff like that. I do agree, like he said, the final thing is a Rick and Daryl reunion. That's just kind of it. Yes, I still would like to see Morgan. I do want to see, Morgan, because, come on, Morgan is an OG character. He's one of the, four original characters. Everyone else is dead. Carol, Rick, Daryl, and Morgan. Who else is still alive from season 1? Yeah. So, I do want to see, Morgan also reunite with Rick. But yeah, like he said, once they play that final card of Rick and Daryl reuniting, what more is there? You can't do a show of of Rick, you know, going back to Alexandria and just being like, hey guys, how you doing? Oh, it's great to see you. You know, this is what happened to me, yada yada yada, you know. Oh, well, we got a whole new community. This is Commonwealth and stuff like that. They're massive, and you know, 60,000 people. Maybe they've grown by now. Who knows? You know, and this is where Eugene, you know, is, and Ezekiel, and yada yada yada, and all these people, and oh, great to see you guys once again, and stuff like that. It's like, all right, now what? You know, now what? Now what do you do? You know, there's nothing left to do. The Aaron spinoff. I mean, yes, it'd be cool to see Aaron. Not gonna lie, it'd be cool to see all those characters again. Even Father Gabriel, it'd be awesome to see him again. But what story would you do? Like, why on earth would you ever want to leave, like, Commonwealth? You know, like, I'm bored. I want to go somewhere else and risk my life. What reason would you have? You know, it just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, granted, that's just like a rumor right now. You know, as far as we know, nothing has been announced of that. But it's like, why would you leave? Like, what reason would you give? You know, at this point, Commonwealth is self-sustaining. You know, they don't really need supplies. I mean, Christ's sakes, they're baking cakes and cookies. If you're at the point where you can bake cakes and cookies, like, you don't need anything at that point. You know, so I don't know. I mean, that kind of also kills the hope of some sort of crossover. You know, I'd still like to see, like, you know, Rick and Madison, you know, crossover and meet, you know, Alicia. That'd be kind of cool. Alicia teaming up with, like, Judith or something like that. That'd be kind of cool to see, but there's no story. There's no nothing. And it's basically, that's their final card is, like you said, once they play the Daryl reunites with Rick, that's it. You got nothing else, you know? So, I don't know, unless they pull a story from who knows where, you know? Oh, we're all back together again, so we're going to leave the safety of the Commonwealth and all the supplies to go on the road and risk our lives. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. It's like, it's too comfortable here. Everything is done. We got supplies, we got food, we got water, we got walls, we got protection. That's boring. I want to risk my life out there. So we're going to leave. Bye. You know, like, what do you do? So, it is what it is. Alright, so anyways, there we go. There is the video. Really good video. Yes, The Walking Dead is still worth watching after all these years. Just be prepared for all the spin-offs and stuff like that. You know, the binge watching definitely does help. So there is that too. But, yeah, lots of Walking Dead. So anyways, other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. That'd be awesome. Remember, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media. Links in the description box below. And other than that, just stick around. More videos are on the way. And I will see you guys next time. Oh yeah, I actually never even mentioned Fear the Walking Dead. See you next time.